This program deals with devil worship and satanic beliefs. It contains explicit scenes and descriptions of violent crimes and rituals.
Americans are asking, who attacked our country?
You have declared a subliminal jihad against the United States. Can you tell us why?
Everything pertaining to what's happening has never come to the surface. The world will never know the true facts of what occurred, my motives.
And night fell on a different world.
And Iblis is thinking, I should be getting this position, not Adam, and this guy is created from dirt.
And how does the army feel about you being head of the Temple of Set?
And the conspiracy theorists can say what they will, but
I want you to give me power over Adam, and I want you to give me soldiers and minions and all of these things.
The people had so much to gain and had such an ulterior motive for putting me in a position I'm in. We'll never let the true facts come above board to the world.
And I want you to be able to give me the ability to whisper into the hearts of mankind.
And who was the grotto leader? Don't remember his name. You don't remember the name of a person who involved you in murder?
Now these people are in very high positions, yes.
Ooh, welcome back to Subliminal Jihad, episode 218. I'm your co-host, Dimitri.
I'm Khalid.
And today, we're checking in an uncharacteristically short SJ episode, I think, and a timely one, right? We usually we like to exist above time. We just wanted to get this
one out so that
there's a number of pressing things.
We wanted to make an announcement, and also there's two motives. On one hand, we wanted to do an episode that would be kind of spooky, but we've been doing a lot of things that are also spooky that have been are preparing a lot of things that are also spooky that have been kind of drawing our spooky attention from a spooky season episode. Right. So we wanted to do a little bit something, and also to mention that we're doing a live podcast show on November 2nd, something that I never thought we would do, but I think we came up with a good concept. So it's going to be in New York. It's on November 2nd. It's at, what's the venue called again? I remember it has an appropriate name.
It does have an appropriate name, Night Horse. 66
Night
Greenpoint.
Horse, I like
66 Greenpoint Avenue. 66.
Yeah, that's an appropriate address too.
Yeah. Follow the searchlight, bring your favorite girl, etc. But I just think it's the Creedence Gollywogs radio intro. Every time I announce a show, I just think
And again this week, Action USA is offering its money-saving special to all you girls. That's right, this week all girls will be admitted for only $1.50. So guys, grab your favorite girl and follow the searchlight to Longshoremen's Hall, Beach and Mason Streets on Fisherman's Wharf for another fantastic show featuring the Gollywogs, the Just Six, the Riptides, and Gates of Eden. Be early.
Follow the searchlight down to Longshoremen's Hall at Fisherman's Wharf. Bring your favorite girl or something.
For those who don't know that reference, which I didn't,
it's Contra 7,
there won't
part
actually
4.
be a searchlight.
There's no searchlight, and there's no bonus for bringing your favorite girl, though you're definitely encouraged to do so. Or your favorite guy,
bring
whatever.
your favorite girl.
But it'll be good. It's going to be up in Greenpoint. We have an event space, and we're taking it over all night. It's going to be an all night SJ experience, and the opening centerpiece is going to be our first live. Truly, I mean us together. I've done a few things.
I've never done anything live related to the show. You've done some events and presentations and stuff before.
Right.
But this will be, and it's a well-developed, unique concept. I'm impressed by how topical it ended up being.
It's good. There's some juicy shit on the thing. We're going to be screening a film, which is in the public domain, and nobody can tell us not to.
Yes,
totally
and we're
legal.
also going to substantially transform it through our commentary.
Like a YouTube. Like a YouTuber would. If you talk over it, you can do whatever you want.
It's totally transformed by our commentary, and also, we'll probably be taking intermittent pauses at key points, because we were just talking about this. We're not going to be able to control ourselves from riffing. So we've already mapped out a couple strategic points. We'll be pausing the film to riff on the many contiguities that come up and the many orthogonal themes.
Right.
So, yeah.
While not a stand-up comedy show, there will be riffing.
Yeah, there will be riffing in the sense of like, you know, us just talking over each other and like, you know, responding to what the other person has said in the way that we do on the show.
Right.
So it'll be just like that, except there will be
raw and unscripted,
an original soundtrack composed by Dimitri. I just listened to some of it. I think it's gonna be good. Yeah.
No, I'm very excited about it. I think that it hadn't even occurred to me at first, but then, you know, obviously the opportunities that silent film affords, you know, back in the day, there'd be
it was in fact my idea. So don't ever say I don't support your music career.
That's true.
It was in fact my idea for you to score it. So don't ever say I don't support your music career. Right.
Well, I think I think it's coming together nicely so far. I'm not done with it, but I think the Noided vibes are going to be heavy, and I think they will kind of update and transform the NOSFERATU experience, because we are screening the 1922 classic, that pillar of Dracularity, literal in popular culture, the NOSFERATU, A Symphony of Terror. But you know, we're gonna put our own spin on it and our own context, because there's a lot about this you know, kind of this legendary horror film.
This will be a symposium on terror, as we've subtitled our event.
Yeah. So it might still, you know, be terror-ifying to you a little bit, but hopefully we're gonna walk through all the you know, the occult origins, the Weimar context, and you know, the
temporary resonances, which many have raised in our current American political context, which will be looming large at the time of this performance, since it'll be like, you know, right before the election.
You know, doing it in a city where, you know, there's been so much foreign investment in real estate that has, you know, caused you know, horrific consequences. I think you know, it's a big through line in NOSFERATU.
Still reeling from the aftermath of a global pandemic.
Also featured,
which some said was plandemic. This film certainly features a plandemic.
This film is completely a plandemic film. Yes. So, you know, we're not going to shy away from any of that, lest we forget, you know, just a few short years ago. So, yeah, I'm very hyped about that. And then, you know, if you stick around after, you know, we're turning it into the part that Khalid is most sussed out about, which is a Noided rave with our friend of the show, vinyl DJ Nate Huther, and we're going to be spinning, you know, just spooky techno vibes, and I'll probably be putting up some sus visuals, you know, up on the projector. But I will be DJing afterwards as well. But we'll be hanging out. I'll be trying to. You'll be there, keeping things on hawk,
or at least a little bit. Yeah.
You know, making sure I don't play psytrance, and you know, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I'll be present. I mean, yeah, for I don't know how much of the Noided rave I'm gonna stay for, but I'll stay for some of it.
That's, you know,
I'm definitely not going to be there until 4 a.m., which I think is the end time that you listed on the flyer. But you're welcome to.
Anybody else is welcome to as well.
Yeah.
I forget, is Dia de los Muertos? That's on the 3rd, right?
I believe it's on. I thought Dia de los Muertos. I don't know what calendar uses, but I thought that it was November 1st. But I could be wrong.
I always thought that too, or like All Saints Day is November 1st. Or...
Yeah, All Saints Day is the. I think All Saints Day is All Hallows is the 1st, and All Saints Day is the 2nd when we'll be doing this, I think. Let me...
Oh, it is actually celebrated on both November 1st and November 2nd. So actually...
it will be Dia de los Muertos, but it also will be All Saints Day, right?
Wow. So, you know, there's a lot going on.
All Saints Day is the 1st. So then what is November 2nd? I thought...
Well, I guess it is...
I guess All Hallows and All Saints Day are the same thing.
It must go from like the middle of the day past midnight into the next day.
Yeah.
So it ends on the 2nd. So we will be, you know, probably we'll be having our show at the.
It's All Souls Day. All Souls Day. Sorry, yeah. All Saints Day and All Hallows are the same, but All Souls Day is the 2nd of November. Through prayer, intercessions, alms, and visits to cemeteries, people commemorate the poor souls in purgatory and give the departed their favorite indulgences.
Wow.
commemoration of all the faithful departed for Christians.
All right.
Which
Well,
neither of us are. But
we have a loaded calendar though. Yeah, come see your favorite church ladies hector you and tell you how you can have fun and be a dissident dirtbag. We know you New Yorkers you've been waiting patiently for this. So tickets are on a Resident Advisor. You can still get them. Just follow whatever the links that I'll be probably posting everywhere. As I guess not everybody knows, we do not live in the same city. In fact, Khalid, I don't think we have hung out like IRL since we were both in New York in the summer of 2021.
Yeah,
isn't that crazy? That's crazy.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We've just missed each other a few times, but
true.
It
definitely has been a while. We definitely haven't seen each other in a long time.
And you're getting there on Saturdays, so literally, besides us like prepping the show in the afternoon, like it's the first time we've hung out. So everyone just come and see us hang out for the first time in like 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we're currently on the show, so maybe now isn't the time to ask like if you're going to be around the next day, because I will still be in the city. But
oh, that's nice. I will be actually.
Yeah.
I will be. I'm going to be around till Monday. Yeah.
Word. So maybe we can hang out a bit more extensively when we're not, at this event. But
totally. It'd be much more relaxed vibes. And I guess also just to layer on the Dracularity, I realized that we're right in the equinox between Halloween and Election Day this year. So I know we had thought about this when we were planning what date to come out to New York. And I think we had brought up this is maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, like, wow, if we do it right before the election, that's going to be interesting. Like, I feel like after the election is like unpredictable. Like, I don't know what's going to happen after November 5th, but right before there's gonna be tension, energy kind of in the air, and like when the air goes still before like a hurricane, a thunderstorm or a hurricane shows up, kind of thing, right? So I'd say the vibes are because we're putting this out, rare timely episode. I guess we can talk about it a little bit.
The Dracularity will be high.
It will be. I mean, we're not. We decided. I think wisely we decided to not make it like an election show, right?
Yeah.
As it's like it's a very easy thing for a podcast that talks about politics.
Well,
but...
first of all, when I was thinking how are we gonna do an SJ live show, just because I feel like it's not like that. I don't know. It's just weird. It just didn't it was hard for me to conceive how to do it. Well, I mean, I definitely eventually things started to percolate and I started to come up with some concepts for it. But it took me a while to cogitate this, because my image of a podcast live show is I've only been to a couple, but they were all a little bit phoned in, and they were just kind of that was not what I wanted to do. Is be damn, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, look at these jokers, or whatever. I just felt I don't know. I feel like it should have the kind of timely but also timeless spirit of our episodes, and I think this will let us get it's very pertinent to the sort of stakes of this presidential contest, or at least the sort of discourse around them, the topic that we'll be discussing. And it also kind of harkens back to it's very appropriate for the first SJ live experience, because it harkens back to a lot of the themes and ties that we've explored on the show over these, how many years have we been doing this? 3, 4? Yeah.
I think we passed into year 4. In August.
So it ties together a lot of the themes that we've explored over the last 4 years, like media and cultural analysis, as well as the occult and esoterica, and also of course Dracula. So
of course, we can't escape it, and wringing some interesting insights out of stuff.
Nazism,
fascism,
the question of the prelude to Nazism.
Right. Yeah. The sort of social collapse or decay. Or
to what extent, the rise of Nazis. This is an interesting thing. We'll be talking about this at the event, like the question of to what extent like elements of Weimar culture are anticipated. I mean, certainly some elements did, but how to sort of parse which elements of Weimar culture sort of portended the phenomenon of Nazism, how or fascism, how wide a net like one can cast in discussing this, and parallels to drawing some little parlor type parallels to our context now.
I was gonna say we might even engage in the op-ed writer's favorite parlor game and comparing contemporary United States culture to Weimar Germany.
Yeah, I think that it will be a necessity. But yeah,
something
I think
that both New York Times op-ed writers and Peter Thiel agree on is that we should be obsessed with comparing ourselves to Weimar Germany.
Yes.
Maybe
so we'll be drawing on a lot of like the past discourse around this film, but also I think bringing our own uniquely SJ spin and take on it that I hope will be a fruitful experience for everybody. So come.
Yeah, come through.
Yeah.
Come through.
Come
NYC.
through. Definitely come through. I think it'll definitely be like we have prepped more for this than like we're kind of known for preparing a fair amount for our shows, even though we don't necessarily rehearse them. But we've prepped like more for this than we have for, I'd say, like almost any other episode. Like at least as much as our most well-prepared episodes.
So, it will be. We thought about like how do we translate like the sort of like SJ podcast experience into an IRL format, because it can't be 1-to-1. It's like if we sat up there
we can't
for
just be like going
hours,
back, like sitting there, like reading, like the history of the Great American Fortress to each other. Like, that's kind of like
riveting for some of you.
Yeah, it's like one of those events where people just read Moby Dick like out loud, like for 24 hours or something, and they like cycle off every hour. Like, now that I say that, but anyway,
No, but I think the hybrid media approach, and flexing a little, getting a little, no, not letterbox bro with it. Fuck that shit. But engaging a little radical film reading and whatnot, a little dramaturgy.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a little bit of dramaturgy. This won't be like a heckin'. We're not gonna, I mean, I feel like anyone who's gonna come knows us and knows that we're not gonna like nerd out over like cinema and like, oh man, I just really, really want to be a director, but I never will because Hollywood doesn't exist anymore. Like, please hire me. Like, that's not our vibe.
No,
we'll be using this as like a thematic touchstone to talk about and to tie together a bunch of like interesting history and contemporary topics. So.
It will not be heckin'. It will not be chuggy.
Yeah, we won't be like, and I really admire what the director does here. We'll only be talking about that insofar as like it illuminates like the esoteric interests and like of like, the production
is the sus director inserting Enochian language to do a fucking ritual? Good stuff like that.
The thinking man's vigilant citizen, as we've been called.
That's right. I'll stand by that. Yeah. So that's coming up in 8 days.
But on a much higher level. I wouldn't necessarily go on with the expectation with that.
We are going to be pausing and like zooming in on. We are going to be pausing and zooming in on.
I mean, the thing is that like in this film, it's different because it's like explicitly like known and recognized, and like they're really rubbing in our faces, folks here, and it's not like a theory. It just like is something to be discussed. So
and the W for Valhalla,
and I think that will be and I think that we'll be able to have some insights that are fresh, and that the sort of existing discourse on the occult elements in the film haven't really produced, or the discourse on the sort of the film's inflection by the political context. Even though like I don't know how many like silent movie like nerds we have like in the audience. Maybe I imagine we have a few. And I really like am fascinated by this subject, and I was even thinking like we should do this again, like because I feel like it's so like there's great like silent films that have like rich elements to like delve into. But like I know Nosferatu is like kind of like a normie pick, but we had to, it's like it's Dracula, it's. Yeah,
it like, checks off enough boxes,
it won't be like your, it won't be your typical film professor's Nosferatu lecture. But I think also that's something that is needless to say.
Nosferatu
Yeah,
Unchained. Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Nosferatu 2024. That's what's happening. Um,
Well, I think there actually will be a Nosferatu
oh
2024
fuck,
coming out
yeah,
soon
yeah,
that
you're
might
right.
suck,
Well,
so
we're
it won't be
preempting
that.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
What it
We
should
didn't
be.
know about that's the one thing that I regret about this concept is that I didn't know that there was like a movie of Nos, but it just, just shows like that the time is ripe for Nosferatu. Even the churning studio system has sensed it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Uh
we're living in vampiric times.
yeah. And
So
once you attend this show, our live show, you'll be able to appreciate and assess whatever his name is, Eggers' Nosferatu movie coming out around Christmas for some reason more adequately. So you should come.
I think so. I think so. I have to say, it's still we have a pretty good like restoration rip of it, and I think just visually, it still absolutely slaps. Like 100 years later,
Yeah, it really
I was
does.
really
Yeah.
shocked by that, by like how good of a film it is. Um,
Yes.
so
Hmm.
yeah, I'm pumped. New
It
York,
really,
New
yes.
York,
Yeah, and NYC.
big city of dreams, but
Uh,
everything in New York ain't always what it seems.
yeah,
Truly.
exactly.
So yeah,
Definitely.
so there's that, and then like 2 days after that, what's going to happen, Khalid? What's your hot election prediction? Let's bust out the electoral map. Who's up? Who's down?
Um,
What are the vibes? Is it Fall?
I think my current sense, as I recently said on Twitter, is that Kamala is gonna lose, but I could be wrong. I'm not like, here's my, I don't like to do that. And I
Yeah.
also I mean, it would probably be like marginally better for Kamala to win because it, it does seem like the people around Trump, seems like Trump, first of all, is like the libs are kind of right that he does seem to be like slipping or like traumatized in some way or like just like sundowning in a way that maybe doesn't seem that severe compared to Joe Biden, but is still like conspicuous, which makes me think, okay, like JD Vance is going to kind of be running the show and perhaps might even, who knows what could happen like under the rigors of having to govern. I mean, I know Trump is known for kind of like chilling and relaxing in office, but at the same time, like,
I don't
it's
know.
very possible.
He's very like active right now. Though I do
Well,
think
there was that weird thing where he kind of just like stood around for 38 minutes at his rally and just like vibed to music and didn't like take any questions or like
I
say
mean,
anything.
people, that's
It's
the
like
thing right
weird.
now. Because I think, again, I could be wrong, but I do feel like, that motherfucker's gonna win again. Like it's feeling more like 2016 than 2020.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
those things that people are like pointing out, like in the last weeks right now, or like talking shit about like him going to McDonald's or like the dancing to the YMCA, like he's kind of in his own like brat moment of like his supporters love that shit. You know what I mean? Like it's not seen as a negative to people that like love him.
The McDonald's thing definitely isn't seen as a negative. But my point is not that like he won't win or that his supporters don't love that. My point is that like he's weird. Like or
Yeah, of
or like that
course.
something's
Oh,
weird with him by Trump
well,
standards, not
uh,
like the Tim Wall sense. Like something is off with Trump. He's not the same Trump that he was. Like something has changed within him.
I do
And
wonder if the assassination attempt is something that like he's not really talking about. Like he's conspicuously not playing that up like everywhere he goes. Like when I feel like he could, as like in
yeah, I
like
mean
a
he
they tried to kill me kind of way. You
mentions it from
know,
time to time, but
he
yeah, it does
does
seem like it kind of it like we said before, it does seem like it kind of shook him. But
right,
yeah, I mean, I think like I mean, what I was gonna say is that like
understandable,
yeah,
I
even though I
guess.
think
Like
and partially for the reason that I feel like Trump is kind of like checked out, which would mean that like JD Vance would kind of be in charge, or
yeah,
like that like the people around him, like who are like often like very aggressively and assiduously like evil and in a way that I think Trump is maybe like too of an attention span to be. Like I think JD Vance has a more sort of focused and coherent vision of like vengeance against the American people than Trump does. So But at the same time, I still don't think that it is justified to vote for Kamala Harris. I personally could not bring myself to vote for Kamala because she sucks so much.
Yeah, no, I
Even
didn't
though
either. Absolutely not. No, it's a third
I
party
do
throwing
think
it away.
yeah,
Crucify me all you want.
the
But
chances of her being, even though it really speaks to how awful she is, that I could see an argument like that Trump would be better in certain way, on the issue of Gaza, for instance, like that. Who knows? Because he's so capricious.
in
And
a very
also
roll the
the fact
dice
that
kind of
if
way.
Trump were doing it, yeah, exactly. But the fact that I can even see that argument at all attests to how awful Kamala is.
Yeah.
I think that it's ridiculous, but at the same time, I can see the reasoning way more than I should be able to.
I just
Because
I can't
she's awful
yeah.
on that.
I can't shake
Kushner and it.
yeah, I can't shake the feeling that just everything the Democrats have done really the last 4 years. I mean, and just the way they've been in this Trump era and the way they've run and everything, I just feel it's not that Trump deserves to win, but I do
They
feel
don't deserve to
my
be voted for.
no,
That's what
they
it's what I was
deserve to
saying.
lose. They deserve to be humiliated and
It's what I was
to
saying
have
yesterday. Kamala, I think it was, or it was the day before. Kamala, she has chosen again and again to spit in our faces. That's the thing, to spit in the face of Muslims who have ridden so hard with Democrats, for years, you know,
right.
and she won't even give a token gesture to pretend. She doesn't care, obviously, and
No.
she doesn't see Palestinian lives as having any value, and she can't pretend that she does, which again, it's insulting to be lied to, but almost it's also insulting to not be lied to, or especially, obviously the best thing would be for her to actually make concessions and actually care and actually see Palestinians as human. But to have her obliviousness and her disregard, and the fact that she doesn't see even a 40-to-1 ratio in the value of Israeli lives to Palestinian lives, just rubbed in our faces. It's just you can't, it's just too disgusting and humiliating beyond the morality of it. Which, of course, is the primary thing, where you just can't support that. I as I said on Twitter, I already voted for Jill Stein, but I do live in a deep blue state, so I get
So
I'm
do
not
I.
saying if
Doesn't
people
matter.
make their moral calculus and are trying to I really don't hold any decision in terms of this election against anybody, because I see how it's not, there's no real good option. But for me personally,
Right.
I couldn't vote for, I really, I didn't have to make this decision. So, but I think even if I lived in Michigan or in Pennsylvania,
Right.
I could not vote for Kamala Harris, because she hasn't shown the barest shred of consideration, and that's just
And
just
there's
not
no
me,
sign she
not
will
me,
if she wins.
Yeah,
They're gonna go
not to say
back
that
to
I would vote for Donald Trump, who I've always hated,
no, yeah,
and
yeah.
I still despise, and I don't
Could very well be
anyone
worse.
who
Could
tries to
very
make some
well
kind
be
of
worse.
argument that Muslims should support him, I think is I don't even know what universe they're living in. But Kamala, sorry, no, I can't vote for after what has happened, no. And yeah, she won't even make a show of caring, she won't even give it something yeah, just saying the number of Palestinians that have died, not saying that the first and greatest tragedy is October 7th, which is just infuriating to anyone who knows anything about not only this current situation, but the history of
Right.
Israel and Palestine, as we discussed. That's the thing. And I think anyone who's oh, there's other factors, I think that's a perfectly reasonable single issue to vote on, honestly, because they're committing a genocide. So fuck it.
And
yeah.
she's putting her foot firmly on it. All the Democrats basically are, which is that I think they've made the calculation on the most basic level that they're too afraid if they are perceived as anti-Israel.
Yeah,
then
that AIPAC will swoop in
and go into overdrive and do everything they can to get Republicans.
But the thing is
elected.
that already has happened. It hasn't worked. They still are perceived that way by the people who are going to perceive them that way. So it's ridiculous that they won't distinguish themselves. They have not distinguished themselves from Trump on this, which is ridiculous. Like she has not done anything to like Trump has said like if Kamala is elected, then like in 2 years Israel won't exist or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And I guess she's really scared of that attack or something because like basically when it comes to this, like she has not said anything that like was substantially distinguish her from her opponent, her primary opponent. So
I
it's like
mean,
it's insane.
at
I
the
mean,
same time,
yeah,
Trump is running around right now and
the
saying
version
that
of Kamala that Trump has like portrayed on the issue of Israel Palestine is better and like more electable than the real Kamala. Like, in fact,
no,
he's
he
a
just
dream candidate if you think
now
about
he's
it.
running around in Michigan saying that basically that Kamala she has allied herself with Muslim hating Liz Cheney, whose father killed so many Muslims and blah blah blah. And so he's like he doesn't give a fuck. Like he's gonna
Oh yeah, he'll
simultaneously
say
lobby
anything.
for like pro-Zionist voters and Arabs in Michigan. Like he's just basically he's saying like, like take a chance on me. Like how could it get any worse for you? Kind of thing. Because like Kamala is like kind of fuck off. I'm speaking now. Like fuck off. But also what's interesting to me is I don't think that if any other like prominent Democrat were the candidate instead of Kamala, like it's hard for me to see them saying anything different, even if they were
Well,
more
that's the
like
thing.
tactically
Everything that
inclined or
Kamala
something.
says, like it
None
doesn't
of them
seem
can
like this is
offer
coming
anything.
from. I don't think this is emanating from her. I think
Right.
that like she
She's
has
under
some kind of
orders.
committee that
Yeah.
gave her a list of things to say and like wrote a script for her that she won't deviate from. That's like just how
Right.
she comes off. She doesn't come off as like, and that's the real thing that I think will cost her like
I think she's
ultimately,
gonna
like
lose
because
because of that.
yeah, like most
She's like an
Americans
AI
like
chatbot that like has
exactly. She
like
seems like
certain barriers.
ChatGPT
Like
for
actually, let's
president.
talk about something else. Like
Yeah.
it just yeah, no, you could totally see that every time she does like long form, like basic. You think she'd have like a better bullshit answer like prepared for like how are you different from Joe Biden? It's like, well, that's the thing. Like they're not, and they're also like
Yeah,
still
like
committed that like Joe Biden was awesome. Like you still see op-eds that are like actually like the economy is better than it's ever been,
they've
and it's
played
like
into
no,
like
it's
yeah,
fucking
why doesn't she
not.
go back to the old Kamala who like talked shit about Joe Biden and like called him racist and stuff like that, I guess she can't. But like that's the thing, like yeah, she's trying to run on like Joe and say like, well, I'm gonna have Trump's exact policy and let Israel annex the West Bank, but I'm gonna lower the price of groceries. And it's like, why would anyone believe you're gonna do that when you say there's something different between you and Joe Biden? And that's what they associate with Joe Biden. That like it's his, they blame it on him. So like, why would they think that you're gonna lower it? Like and explain how like it's ridiculous. Like
Well,
she's
that they can't
awful,
accept
and she's
that
played
Joe
into
Biden
every
like
single
failed in
Republican attack
anything.
against her. Like she just
Yeah.
sucks,
No,
and
it
they're
always was going to
evil.
be.
And
It actually always like Brad Summer was like a funny little distraction, but I feel like maybe it was always going to be this way. That for a while is going to look close. Because imagine if Biden hadn't dropped out, like there would be no suspense around the
I
election
was
right
thinking
now.
the other day, like, I almost wonder if Biden would have done better. I know, like, I was like, well, maybe probably not, like, because I
No,
remembered,
I don't
how
think
like
so.
alarmed people were about like his deterioration. But on the other hand, like, Biden does have that element of authenticity that Kamala just does not have, and like that, I think is just toxic, just seeming like so fake.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll never know. And he totally could not have because I do remember like how everyone was like, "Oh man, he's like mentally incompetent." So she probably still will do better. But like the fact that I even had that thought is another testament to how insane this is.
Well, that's what
Like,
I think that the Democratic like meta narrative about like our country, I'm just like really they need to find a new fucking bag because like I feel like it's really played out at this point. Like it just they're kind of replaying the hits from now, even though they might be truer than they were in 2016 about like Trump being literally Hitler. Like maybe now that like somebody tried to kill him, he's like a little bit unhinged and he has way more fascist people around him than he did. He's
and
not
it
gonna
happened
have
to Hitler
like
too. Yeah.
I mean, like, so who knows? But nonetheless, like the, I think with the war in Ukraine and what's going on in Gaza, like if I have to hear a Democrat talk about how they have superior
Exactly.
values
That's what
one more
rings so
fucking
false.
time,
Like when she's
shut the
like,
fuck up. No, you
yeah, she was
don't.
like,
Like you're
well,
a
what about
sicko.
our democracy? It's like, well, there is no democracy because you're telling
Yeah.
me that like both of my choices are like pro-genocide candidates. So like the democracy doesn't matter to me because the most important thing, which is like not being complicit in like the murder of like tens of thousands of innocent people, like over 40,000 people, which
Yeah.
Kamala would never say because it sounds so, it dwarfs, the number that she always repeats of 1,200
Hmm.
beautiful Israelis. That is the most important, is a very crucial issue, but on that I don't have a choice. So like, why would I care about defending our democracy? I mean, I get it, obviously, but I also can see that, like, why would I care about that? Because does obviously doesn't exist, or in any material way. You're saying I have no choice. Like, she basically is saying like hawk Tua in your face. And like, she's just basically lobbing spit into your face and just saying, well, sorry, but if you care about like our democracy, like you have to put up with your, like, for many people, like your family being murdered,
Hmm.
like at least, if
Exactly.
you're Muslim, like your brothers and sisters being murdered, like if you're a human being, like, and or just an American who like pays taxes, like you have to just put up with being complicit in like a humanitarian atrocity because ha ha ha, like,
Yeah.
you don't have another choice.
Well,
Oh, but by the
everything
way,
gets
you have
less
to defend
affordable, and
democracy.
like they're,
Uh,
like it's just what the fuck. Yeah, it's not a winning hand to play, and
Like,
I feel
yeah, and they
like
just embraced like every, like, they've embraced every, like, negative characterization of them. Like they do come off like what Republicans portray them as being, like a weird, like bureaucratic, interchangeable committee of people like that has no like actual person. Yeah, and I just think even beyond that, like it's, yeah. But yeah, no, as to what you're saying, like Elon, I think actually did run ads in that were like sort of portraying Kamala as like too pro-Israel, but also like different ads like portraying her as anti-Israel at the,
yeah,
like, simultaneously. So yeah, they'll
that's
they'll
just
do both, and like she, I think, is definitely losing on both. And she should just like do the right thing. Like there's so much daylight, or like not even, she doesn't even have to do the right thing. She
hmm.
could do like one step closer to the right thing, and it would probably go a long way with a lot of people. I can't promise that it would be sufficient for me. However, like all I'll say is that it's shocking how she won't move a single inch
And I wonder like
on being
what
evil.
when you talk about kind of the proverbial committee that is like giving her these positions to go out and like defend. I wonder who, like what is the critical operative thing at the end of the day that makes Democrats just completely unable, like that they are backing, like they have to back Israel in this, like they can't not back Israel. And it's like part of it you could say is like, oh, it's election year and they're afraid of like alienating the Jewish vote, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel like there's like cold, hard geopolitical things happening right now in that region, the killing of Nasrallah, like the missile showdown with Iran, and like there is a kind of thing of like the United States is like letting their little mad dog proxy off the leash, and then being like, oh no, like my pit bull like is mauling all these children. Oops, like let me explore options about putting the leash back on and like getting the pit bull, but like not even that. I don't know. It's so is there some kind of like national security or like geostrategic economic thing about confronting, jockeying with the BRICS countries or something like that that is making them so fucking committed to this?
I go
Like,
back and forth on this, like, because I definitely do think that, like, I mean, it goes back to like the Mearsheimer article of like the Israel lobby. The one theory is like they're just so afraid of AIPAC, and it is true that AIPAC like did destroy like two Democratic incumbents like in this cycle, for being insufficiently pro. Like, and I can see how like some of those people might feel existentially threatened right now, and they might think like, well, if Kamala's not with us 1,000%, then like we can't afford to risk it, even if we might be progressive in other ways or whatever. Not that APAC is, but
well, I don't know, because the people that got defeated were all like squad DSA type people. So I feel like the Democratic establishment like doesn't care that much if those people get picked off by AIPAC for
well, I'm
being too
saying that
radical.
APAC will, well, yeah, but they're sensitive to it. Like they
Yeah, I'm
feel the
sure they
threat.
are.
They know
Yeah,
that they can't, like, that, they can't step out of line, or like they could, and like APAC has a lot of resources, and also like
I
the
know they
larger,
do.
like a lot of, they do.
No, no, I know
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm just wondering
Yeah,
if like,
like,
is there an
and
extent
is
where,
there, well, yeah, in terms of like, I mean, it is true that like, there is nothing that can like replace it from the point of view of like American like geostrategy. this is a point that a friend of mine like brought up, because we have been going back and forth on this because we're thinking like trying to figure out, like is it just like sort of like almost like just a tradition, like a cultural thing at this point, where like we like fiercely support Israel. That's just what we do, and like these beliefs have like been ossified over time after being built up. Like, and even though like the geostrategic necessity has kind of faded, does like it and is it also like a factor of like the Israel lobby and things like that? I think like and well, one point that my friend made that is a good one is that like there's no, like as I was saying, there's nothing that could really replace Israel from the point of view of American geostrategy in the sense that like they see themselves as being part of like the Europe and the United States. They see themselves as being part like civilizationally contingent with like the West.
Exactly.
And no, like even though we might have like similar alliances with other Arab countries who are also our clients and who also like will bend over backwards and ignore like the murder of tens of thousands of Muslims, so that but like they still won't have that same total like identification, that same commitment to like U.S. strategic aims, to feel like they're even in a way like of a piece to the same extent, even
that's
like
true. That's true.
That is something to consider. Like the value of Israel, is in that sense pretty strong, or pretty high.
Yeah, and from Israel's perspective, like having the backing of like NATO and the United States is like existentially kind of crucial to their project, because they're surrounded by others and they identify with the West, and then so it creates a codependent relationship.
Yeah, I think it does go both ways, and I think that like a lot of people in Israel, I mean, again, like a lot of people in Israel, I think like kind of see like that they're out for themselves or whatever, and America does sometimes seem to be like, or our leaders sometimes do seem to be like just trying to persuade them otherwise, because exactly like it does seem to be like even the way that Kamala phrased it, for instance, like when she was asked about the issue of Gaza, her line is, with Sinwar's death, there is an opening to like explore how to end, like it's an opportunity to bring this war to an end, and etc. And it's like, why not be a little bit more because you have the power to end this. You don't have to ask to end it. You don't have to suggest to end it. Like do things, like talk about what you're going to do to end it, but she can't.
It's like when we talked about earlier in like Contra 8, we talked about how George H.W. Bush had that little standoff, and Baker had that standoff with Israel in the early 90s about building settlements with like aid money and stuff. And it's just like it felt like up through Obama that American presidents always knew that they were like, sort of like the dominant partner in like the special relationship. And they didn't feel like of course they'd be like careful, but they in their own ways, like at times they would kind of put kind of demands or like pressure Israel like publicly or whatever. I mean, obviously not like that hard, but then I mean Trump like happened to just like love Israel and like get along with Bibi really well, and they kind of but that was more of a function of not so much like, oh, Trump was just like a weak like cuck that like Netanyahu was walking all over, maybe he gassed him up or whatever, but it's like it was more like Trump like just likes them or whatever. But the last 4 years now it feels like the Democratic establishment has this like bizarre, like they're being blackmailed or something, which I mean
has like a unique love of Israel.
I get him generationally and stuff, but I feel like what about these Gen Xer people, these younger boomer Gen Xers like Antony Blinken, highborn Antony Blinken, and Kamala, and like Jake Sullivan and all these other people, like they're all under like orders that like you must love Israel, and like you don't even like talk bad about them. Like don't take that tone with Israel kind of thing. They're like afraid to like even come off even slightly, which is like, I think Obama was not like, Obama had a little slightly frosty relationship with Netanyahu, and Netanyahu hated him. And, he did stuff in public that signaled that I'm not totally down, 100% down with Israel. Of course, he's fucking silent now and just like saving his smoke for like black men that aren't whatever. That seemed like a bad move for him to make. But even he was like, had the capacity, it seems, to like push back against them a little bit, that is just gone now. And it's like, why? Like, why did you guys
That yeah, I was
decide
thinking of the
that
same thing where he
at
has nothing to
Netanyahu, like
lose. Like
indicted ass
Jimmy
Netanyahu?
Carter, like again, not perfect, but he said like this is apartheid. You know, like he actually made good use of his post presidency, like or reasonable use. Where like he
I mean, he
said, you
did some
know,
sus stuff
Obama could
also,
do the
but
same
yeah.
shit. He has nothing to lose but like the worst fucking movies I've ever seen in my life on Netflix. Like so sorry, you know,
And the
for
most
cursing, but
mid
like, you know,
playlists of all time.
like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like he has nothing to lose. Like his career, like he still has all
Honestly,
the speaking fees and all this shit. Like so, yeah, just
he's such a
you know,
fed.
and like
I
he
don't
used to
know.
be friends with like Rashid Khalidi and all these people. You
Yeah, yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah. And Bill
like
Larry, that
yeah,
whole thing. Yeah.
yeah. So
University of Chicago crowd. That's right. Like in the
yeah,
90s, he was like very hip to the currents, but
yeah.
now it's become verboten to like not be like really down with Israel. I mean, maybe it's a function of like the absorbing of kind of the Republican neocons throughout the 2010s that because they stood up to Trump once, like that means that they're good people now, even though they did like the Iraq War. So all these people are being kind of onboarded more and more. And I think with the foreign policy, like the Democratic foreign policy sort of establishment has kind of like it. I mean, it's really not that different from at this point. I feel like
Well, I
the
mean, I also think
neocon
like
2000s or the inner, like it's all just kind of like the
the
same thing,
cultural
but it's
thing is
quite
like
aggressive.
the cultural thing is like fairly salient. You know, like that's the thing. Like you really, really have to like. I mean, it's hard like to really like for someone who's like been Muslim for 10 years, like it's hard to get like back into the mindset of like these like, average, like, and especially like people who are like in government. Like that's the thing. Like the cultural thing is like worth, and I think Obama is a different case in a way, but uh, like Obama's a different case in a way, but I think that he like a lot of Democratic sort of like policy lines like kind of go through him, and he might feel this like what if they feel that like it's risky politically, like he won't say anything and I get whatever. Like, but my point is that like I do think that like a lot of these people, like I think that Anthony Blinken, and I'm not saying this is like something that is necessarily caused by him being Jewish, but it certainly helps. Like some people who aren't Jewish do the same thing, which is identify very strongly with Israel, and
Yeah.
they see Israel as the goodies, and they're scared of Muslims and Arabs, and that's just like they see them as like worse,
Yeah.
and like not their lives don't matter as much, and that's like what they really think.
Well, I
So
think we have to throw in complicating factor for our Secretary of State is that like his stepfather, who he basically grew up with, was best friends, lawyer of, confidant of Robert Maxwell, who was like an Israeli super spy and like business
yeah.
mogul. So
I
he
mean,
comes from this
I
very
hate Anthony
specific
Blinken. I hate him.
like
Like just
he comes from like a
uh
Bruce Rappaport ass background, like literally.
yeah.
So it
He's
makes
pure
me. I'm
evil.
sure
And the
his
fact that he's like
consciousness has
basically
been shaped.
president like in terms of foreign
Mhm.
policy at the moment is like evil and awful. But yeah.
Like blues guitar Viagra commercial ass playing motherfucker. I cannot wait for him to be fucking gone. Even though whoever Trump picks, dear God, I can't even imagine. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean, don't count your chickens though, because I'm not positive that I could actually see it going either way still, like I said before.
We're
Like
recording this on Friday, October 25th, so we're in the season of the October surprise now. But will anything come out? Remember 2016 was a big October surprise year because you had the Comey thing, and then you had like Pizzagate. And like I'm reflecting on like where was I past election cycles, whatever. How did the vibes feel at this point in 2020? How did they feel in 2016? I mean, I remember when Trump really, that 1-2 punch of like the FBI, saying they were gonna, like, maybe there was something to the emails, and then the sort of Pizzagate assisted by like Steve Pieczenik and Eric Prince and other people in like Jack Posobiec, all these like little alt-right influencer people that are big now. And I don't know, like it, even though I think an October surprise like that feels unlikely, though I could be
I feel like
completely wrong.
Pizzagate didn't even take off like really until after the election now.
It was more Podesta emails, actually, I would say. Pizzagate was like gestating out of the
Yeah.
bowels of Podesta emails like in the 2 weeks. I would say like
And it
it
didn't
started to
quite
hit a
penetrate. Like,
deeper pitch
yeah, I don't know.
online.
I don't know if
No,
I would
you're
say
right.
Pizzagate was a factor.
I
Like,
wouldn't.
but the Comey stuff, yeah,
The Comey stuff
definitely.
was it was all part of a swirl of things that
But
just
also in
threw enough
general,
doubt in
Hillary
the mix.
Clinton just like sucks and everyone hates her, and like could never win an election.
No, she does.
Um,
Remember when Lady? I think I used
but
it as the cover art in a Q&A a few episodes ago. But when she went out, it was probably a Michael Jackson kind of inspired costume, but it looked like a Nazi outfit where she was wearing like this like black sort of like uniform pantsuit with like a red armband. It was just like so fash coded, but she was like with Hillary and they were playing like Brave, and it was just like this is just the vibes are so fucking bad. Like I don't know, like the Democrats just. There's just like such an insincere like it's low energy but it's still Luciferian I guess you could say
yeah,
at the end of these
it's like
campaign cycles and they
they
didn't have to
really
do this
like
in
they shouldn't
2020.
have given up calling Republicans weird, even though I know that they thought I don't know, maybe they thought that it was played out, or maybe they thought that it was like, too negative or something. But like the thing that was smart about that strategy, again, like I say this only from the point of view of like, if the Democrats wanted to win, because, like I said before, they're evil, but
Mhm.
like, so like whatever. But again, like I still think Trump is incredibly person. And everyone around him is like literally like Tucker Carl, like that speech Tucker Carlson gave at Turning Point
The
USA, like
spanking thing.
if that speech isn't fascism, then like ideologically, then then you must not think that it's possible to be fascist, like outside of the context of the interwar period, or during World War II, like in a post World War II context, like you must just not think it's possible to be fascist if that speech isn't fascism.
Well, I do
But
worry
like
that I worry about the personalities that are swirling around Trump now that are going to get like a lot of, access or whatever from, him being president. Like, but like it's basically these sus libertarian like tech overlord people like Peter
those are the
Thiel,
people who like
Elon
have
Musk.
really like he alienated everyone in a way. Like, even like Pence like hates him now. Like even like so the only people who like stuck with him are the people who like see him as Caesar. Like, and that is like
We're all
like
like drug-addled, like transhumanist freaks, basically.
yeah.
And I don't want them to
Who
try
want
to
to like
like quote
sacrifice
unquote.
that, like, they want him to be the Warhammer Emperor and like sacrifice 1,000
Yeah.
souls a day to him. Like
Like I
it's
think that could get weird in a way that like all these like MSNBC like libs right now are being like they're doing like the he's Hitler or he likes Hitler like kind of thing. And I think
yeah.
it's like yeah, like it might
Well, that's the
come,
thing. Like
but
it
it's gonna
doesn't.
be
It's not.
weird. It's
It
gonna be
doesn't
wearing a
work.
Groiper
Like
mask and like carrying an I don't know, like some kind of
no, and I
trad
mean
calf
it's like
rosary.
it's seriously, and I'm not saying that it actually is. Of course, it's not actually like Hitler. I'm not saying that Trump is going to do the Holocaust or anything. Inshallah. Like, I mean, actually, well, we'll see. I mean, because it won't be in the United States, but we'll see what happens in the 4 years of a Trump presidency. Because, like,
It's very dangerous to hand over the keys to like the empire basically right now when we're like so close to like an open war with Iran or like supporting Israel having an open war with Iran. Like, I mean, that was
which
one.
we would have to support. Like, we would have to fight.
I don't see him like making a deal. Like he kind of he's
No,
always
that's
been like very
the
rapidly
deal will be
anti-Iran.
like, oh, like, yeah, kill all these people. Like, or
Yeah, yeah.
invade Lebanon, like, completely, and, like, us push into Lebanon, like, annex the West Bank. That's something that, like, I think, there was that article about Miriam Adelson, like, wanting to annex the West Bank, right?
Oh,
Um,
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, doesn't
yeah.
he have properties in the Golan Heights or something,
I mean,
or
Jared
in
said some
Israel?
shit about, like, Gaza being great beachfront property or whatever, too. Like,
That's the thing.
they,
He's got these people around him, though. I think
yeah,
actually I read recently because like oddly the like Arab American mayor of Hamtramck, in Detroit, like endorsed Trump. I guess he's like a Republican, but like he endorsed Trump. And I guess Tiffany Trump married like the wealthy son of some kind of like Arab American magnate or something like that. So like I don't know if Trump thinks he's gonna like through his like daughter's like marriage like political marriages, he'll somehow like triangulate That's probably not going to happen. But I guess like he's using his like Arab son-in-law now to like try to get Arabs to like vote for him and like support him while he's also like fully in support, like very, rabidly pro-Zionist and like has the Kushner connection and everything. So I don't know. It's going to be
Well, that's the
wildly
thing. Like a
unpredictable,
lot
but
of like these, like I've said before, like a lot of the like people who participate in the Abraham Accords,
mhm,
like they don't care about Palestinians.
no.
Like MBS doesn't give a shit what happens to Palestinians. He doesn't care what happens to his own people.
Mhm.
And like a lot of these people, the people don't even live in their countries. Their countries are like not at like 80% foreigners, like expats and slaves, or people who work in quasi-slavery from South Asia and other places.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
like they're just like they're just clients with armies, and yeah. So no, but yeah, but I do think that you're right that just like saying, but he's a fascist, like that's not gonna work, even though I think it's kind of true,
could be true.
or at least substantively true. Like
It could end up that way.
it's
Like,
like it's obviously not a strategy that is gonna work, and also it rings especially hollow coming from someone who's like allowing and then like
Holocaust
it's so
terrorists.
ridiculous. I was talking about this yesterday, like to you and some of other friends, like that she's like he's a fascist, but also I'm gonna reach across the aisle. Like the party you just said is led by a fascist. Like
That's the
doesn't make
thing.
any sense.
There's
Like
some
yeah, it's just
irreconcilable contradictions piling up here
yeah.
about their like rabid pro-war like imperialism and embrace of like kind of like militaristic policies and like punishing other countries that don't fucking like do what we want and everything and making it
Yeah.
all about like that. I don't know, just like this weird
And it's all just
pro-democracy
based on like
crusade thing.
his own generals said he's dangerous. Like explain
Okay, a bunch of sus gen.
but it just doesn't sound substantial. It's just like like I hate to put it in these terms, but it's kind of like when people on like again I say Reddit, but like whatever that like they don't even necessarily do this anywhere, but just like the appeal to authority,
Yeah.
like that's all it does is she just like this person who everyone like hates, like Dick Cheney, like someone who I think is probably not that popular even like with Republicans these days. I mean, maybe like there are I don't know. My impression is that everyone hates Dick Cheney. And that's part
Well,
of the
yeah,
reason why Trump was able to win the first time. So why she would
yeah.
invoke like people like that and be like, but the general, like or like whatever, like I'm
No,
even doing the Hillary voice for her now because like, that's like what it is like. But yeah, like and that like that's the thing. Like they like goes back to my point that I didn't quite finish, which was that like, yeah, they abandoned the weird thing like thinking that it would get old or thinking that, but like the thing is like that's what was smart about that was that it inverted what Republicans do about Democrats because they've been calling Democrats like weird and freaks and like
yeah.
asocial and like for
Tucker just did
years,
it again.
and
So,
but they have like proven them right. They're acting incredibly weird and evil, like and like
pretty and
inhuman
like
robots
shifty, like
who are
they're
like written
acting
by
like shifty
ChatGPT.
robots.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
like
acting like might be the first like AI campaign in a way where like all these answers have been run through ChatGPT and have that kind of like vague word salady aspirational quality
Like
to it.
how can you say like yes, I understand it hurts when your family dies, but you might also care about the price of groceries.
That is like a
That's
ChatGPT answer. It's like you don't understand like
yeah, that's
humanity,
like one of
so
those
like
like
you're
AI hallucinations where it's
like
like, oh,
making a
you just
utilitarian
equated the value of
calculation.
human life with groceries. Do you understand how that's wrong? And it's like,
Also,
on
like
second thought, upon
like
further
you
consideration, like
also
I
they've
realize
been in
that,
power, and that's when grocery prices went up, and that's generally seen
yeah,
as like you're responsible for that. So like,
exactly,
why is
yeah.
it? It's not exactly like a slam dunk that like Kamala will, bring lower grocery prices. Not saying like
Exactly, like no
Trump
one's
will
gonna believe
either.
that
Like,
anyway.
but
Yeah, it's
I just there's
ridiculous.
no credibility there at all, and
And that yeah,
so
just
I don't
like
know.
it's ridiculous.
They
It's just
can't they need to pivot to I don't know. Like they just have no real boys or girls like in the party anymore. They're all like Beta O'Rourke, Josh Shapiro, fucking robot people or Pete Buttigieg. Like all this the younger generation of like Democrats are like soulless, like just like automatons that are repeating this like neoliberal script and like cannot are programmed to not deviate from it. And even up to the point of just like endorsing genocide and just like or just gaslighting people and pretending that's not what
yeah.
they're doing.
I mean, honestly, like I mean, this is like a very, I feel like this is a very Weimar thing to say, but like where it's kind of like fascist realism in a way, but like the like what we really kind of need is like a someone to like overturn the Democratic Party in the way that Trump overturned like the GOP. Like someone who like comes in and like just radically like calls out like every like the entire Democratic establishment and like destroys like the received orthodoxy, like, oh, we have to defend the Iraq war and stand by it. Someone who is like, no, like I'm not gonna like full-throatedly support Israel. Like I'm gonna acknowledge like that is what we would need. I don't know if that would work.
Well,
I mean,
I
both
know we
for
all
like
thought
cultural
everybody
reasons,
thought
but also
there was
for
that guy, right? Everyone thought Bernie was the guy, and
I didn't think
for
Bernie was that guy. I
I
thought
know.
that Bernie, like I thought Bernie was like a fine like a option, I guess, like relative to but that's not the same
Right.
thing.
But a lot of people,
I
a
mean,
lot of
people
people
tried to. That's the thing. Like people do
did
that with
pitch him as
Kamala
that
too,
guy.
though. Like there are
Yeah.
these people who are like delusional, and they just like get caught up in this hype or excitement, and they just like convince themselves like they just live in a fantasy world where like based on what they want to think or what they want to be true. Like when they're all like coconut pilled, LOL, Kamala. Like there was this like they tried their best to like make it a thing, but eventually they all had to confront like the reality of why Kamala like just sucks and like just totally crashed and burned when she tried to run for president. Like, and why she never would have won a primary if there actually had been one. So
At the beginning of this year, nobody thought that like, if Joe Biden dropped out, like, nobody thought, like, oh, Kamala could be. And then I think because Joe said he, like, picked her,
well, also
it was
because
all,
of like the delegates having to switch over and everything. I think it was really late in the game. That's the thing. Like if it
it
had been
was.
earlier, it might not have been her. I don't know.
But this is just, I mean, it is kind of a cosmic comeuppance for the Democrats that, like, have taken every opportunity in their opposition to Trump over the last, like, 9 years to like embrace like making themselves kind of worse or like making themselves into the thing that like they hate or like yeah, just embracing their darkest, most kind of like craven impulses for everything. I don't know. The way they operate now is like petty, it's stupid, and I guess it's just run by like corporate think tanks at this point, or like the Atlantic Council is just like telling them what script to run. And it's like truly, and then they're like weaponizing this, the kind of the moral blackmail of like that Trump is coming and he's coming back and he's pissed and like we surely can't let that. I don't
It's
know,
honestly
like
weird how like one interesting point of contrast is like Ukraine. Like I was just watching a video of JD Vance kind of like, he was kind of threading the needle a little bit, but he was definitely like more like negative about Ukraine than like Kamala would ever dare to be about Israel. Like he was trying to put like daylight between him like and even though like most of the support for the Ukraine war was, for, supporting Ukraine against Russia was bipartisan, like
yeah.
Trump was willing to pick him despite his like past statements about Ukraine, like, being like, I don't care about Ukraine, things like that, which is
But like Trump
like a
doesn't care about
huge
Ukraine
difference.
either. Like Trump also doesn't care about Ukraine. Like
No, I guess that's true. Yeah, like he like certainly hasn't signaled like caring about it the way that like other Republicans have.
no,
That's true.
I mean
But like my point is
he's
that like they're able to not care about Ukraine. So you'd think that like the Democrats would like maybe do the reverse where like they can signal that like they don't,
like at
care
least
as
some of
much about
them,
letting Israel kill whoever like Netanyahu and like the Israeli government deems necessary to kill for as long as they want. Maybe like they could suggest like that they don't have that belief, but they won't, Like my point is that if Trump and JD Vance can,
yeah, I get that.
say
Yeah,
that,
they're like, well, the Democrats, I mean,
and it wouldn't
they,
even have to be
I don't
like
know.
to the same extent, like it would still like, I mean, it would be less like it would to like satisfy me morally, obviously. But I'm just being realistic here, like the
No, I know.
extent to which they won't back down from it's awful.
Well, I think like you said earlier, they were an undisrupted party compared to the Republicans who did get like somewhat disrupted, and they're kind of in the process of like they've been in the process of sort of like rebranding themselves in a lot of ways, and like certain people have exited the party and there's other like new people but the Democrats are still like the Bill Clinton Obama Democratic Party. Like they haven't, even though the Bernie thing kind of kicked up a little bit and they have a few little squad members, like it's mostly they have much more party discipline and cohesion around a shared kind of like ideological vision and like approach to like governing America that is like very just like one kind of like monochrome at this point. And it feels like, oh, if you're a Democrat, that like maybe a few of those squad people in safe districts, can kind of speak out, but even not that much. Like AOC has been like really dog shit about, like very tepid. So they're both bad. But again, it gets back to kind of like my suspicions or whatever about like, are they getting the orders from the Atlantic Council or like some kind of like structure in like the national security state that is like, no, like this is actually good. Like, let Israel destroy Hezbollah, like kind of thing. And like there's some kind of secret thing that nobody can admit that this is actually like factored into our strategic thinking. Because from the outside, it looks insane. Like, what the fuck are you people doing? You're just letting like war just like totally break out in this region that is important to us strategically, and you're just like kind of letting it spiral out of control. But maybe this is a little bit of like managed anarchy, or so to speak, or like management of savagery kind of thing with Israel, where it's like, oh no, Israel, like don't go off the reservation like that, because we're such like good people. We would never obviously endorse a genocide for cold hard like strategic reasons or whatever. I don't know. I just feel like because these people are so empty, they're such like hollow people in like the Democrat side that like they must be getting marching orders, like some institutional forces must be bearing down on them to like be such just like blank slate like weirdos about this whole issue, and just like gritting their teeth like trying to pretend that like nobody will care if we just like don't talk about it, and all this, and like having to say like we support Israel's right to exist. Like you have to start every answer with that kind of thing. And I don't know, like I think it's going to lead them into calamity. I think it's like there's a grab bag of things that are just
back to
enough
your like
to tip it.
2016 comparison, like Hillary lost Michigan by like what 11,000 votes, like not a lot, and there's like 200,000 Muslims in Michigan.
Yeah,
like
it's not good. It's not
swing.
Good. And
because every single Muslim, when they hear like the stuff that she says, I guarantee when Kamala says the first and greatest tragedy is October 7th, like every single Muslim in the United States is like, that's bullshit.
Fuck you.
Like, maybe they don't swear, but they might not say that's bullshit, but like they like no, that is bullshit.
When she didn't pick Josh Shapiro, a lot of people kind of like huffed that hopium and thought that like, oh, maybe like she'll quietly blah blah blah. But then that kind of ran out. And then, now like they've just been answering it in the most horrible way. And like she's still in the administration. Like I guess it's like, oh, Biden's your boss. Like you can't criticize him, but also like who gives a fuck? Like he's, you know what I mean? Like if you actually want to win, who gives a fuck? But I guess, I don't know.
No, who gives
I don't know.
A fuck?
Do you
Exactly.
think there's any possibility in the world that certain Democrats, like I remember this felt more plausible when Biden was still in, but that like somewhere on some level they like want to lose to Trump. Like they don't know what they would do without him. Like they need him to be their Joker so that they can be Batman. Like they just need.
Yeah, I did consider that. Like, and I don't know, like if it's like I think it would have to be like on some level, like they, like they, like I think that they don't. I think that there's a lot of people who like wouldn't necessarily care if they do lose, or like maybe gave the election up already, like in their minds at some point, and so they're just kind of like, trying to
muddle through.
Exactly. Yeah, like, or like set things up for like what they're gonna do, like what their careers are gonna be afterwards.
Right.
Like what their careers are gonna be during Trump's term.
Because there's a lot of people that won't get federal jobs, like the kind of people that are on MSNBC all the time. That kind of PMC Democrat class. I mean, every time I watch
or
them,
that
though,
like
I'm
some
like,
things might be like
they
more
are...
important to them than like like they don't want to like stoke certain sentiments in the American population. Like they don't want to validate being like anti-Zionist. Like they don't want to encourage that, like for a myriad reasons.
Right.
Like they that might just be like a really high priority, and it could go to like the like point that you're making, which I think is true. That like they obviously like are. I mean, that's the thing. Like I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know like what their immediate goals are for like allowing like what Israel is doing to happen. Like
Yeah.
what would be like the objective? You know, like they want to fight a war with Iran, like the Democrats do.
It's
Like
surprising
I don't
after
know.
the
I
whole
mean, I
2010s Obama nuclear deal, you know.
yeah, it's like a little bit strange.
It seems like
Um,
some of them, yeah, like they they're very upset when Trump like pulled out of that, but now like there's a new calculus and maybe the Ukraine thing like changed how they look at how they need to like confront their enemies around the world and they have a new calculus because I
I
mean,
mean, Kamala did say like Iran is our greatest enemy, greater than Russia and greater than China,
yeah, I
which
mean,
is
that's a little
insane.
bit of a tell right there.
Absolutely insane.
Given
Yeah.
how much they hate Russia, like that's kind of a tell that, maybe enough neocons have moved over now into the Democratic Party that they can get their Iran war dream finally, after
Yeah.
so many
You know, maybe
decades.
you're like
I'm
it
I'm
kind of like starts
spitballing in the
to like
ether here.
certain things start to line up if you think about like has there been a longer plan to because Biden didn't like really pursue like Japoka,
No.
as aggressively as he could have, like he
Hmm.
kind of like just dropped it, right?
Yeah, he didn't
Um,
make any moves to like reset it up, even though I think
yeah,
Iran tried to make some overtures to do that.
yeah, like
He wasn't interested.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're like I'm trying to look up like what reentry negotiations there were. Yeah, he refused to give. It's interesting. Yeah, like when you think about it and you think about like kind of there was almost a little bit of like positioning for it. Remember like with the protests in a way that there wasn't really in 2019. There was a little bit, but like with the
Positioning
most
how
recent
so?
talking like the sort of movement around Iran, like within the like media discourse, for
Oh, like
example.
woman life
Like,
freedom?
exactly, like
Yeah.
where you kind of saw that sort of like there had been like mass protests in Iran previously, and you
Hmm.
kind of saw that sort of like
Yeah.
in like earlier, but not in the same way you saw it during that. And I mean, I get there's like more of an angle to it, but like there really was, yeah. And I think that like even a lot of like people in like the Iranian diaspora I know who were like sympathetic with like the protests, which like to an extent like
Yeah.
obviously I think like a lot of these things like end up being like co-opted and like I think that and there also are a lot of people like working within like those movements who are sinister, but like some like the elements like there's definitely things that the Islamic Republic does that I
Yeah.
obviously condemn, but
Yeah, I've
like
heard some
even like
stories from
many
Iranian diaspora who are definitely not like right wingers that are like, yeah, some of the things they crack down on are like
well, yeah, but
just
also my point is that like even like a lot of people in the Iran diaspora are like, well, actually, this is getting kind of sus, like
yeah, oh, of
around
course,
like
that
what's
too.
been going on, what the
That
sort of
too.
like forces kind of swirling around all of that. Like people who
Hmm.
like have every reason to be like very sympathetic,
Oh,
like
I see, I
still
see.
started to
It's
get
that
kind of
that
sussed out by it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when like and these are I'm not talking about like like quote unquote anointed people or whatever or like Khomeini
Uh-huh.
supporters at all, like I'm just talking about normie Iranian diaspora who are like my people are under an oppressive government, still started to get kind of sussed out like in
Sussed
terms
out
of like
by it.
how like what started to happen with like the cultivation of that movement and like the kind of figures who came to prominence within it and also like
Right.
the way that it was kind of stage managed in the United States.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I think
Um,
there are definitely games being played, and now, I mean, also a lot of the Democrats, we forget like how it is weird how it's been kind of like totally memory hold or like never gets brought up anymore. But like just how deep they got into like the Middle East region with Libya and especially Syria in the 2010s. Like that was kind of like the Democrats' Iraq a little bit, but like it approached in a much more like covert hybrid special war kind of way, right? But
yeah.
nonetheless, like deep intervention that we're still seeing, the Heckin based true socialist Kurds still have their, SDF base guarding what is it, like the Conoco oil fields and that big like,
Yeah.
prison city that
Yeah.
is being watched over by the SDF and shit. And, just everything that happened, like in that conflict, the sponsoring of different armed groups, and then like the warfare in like, Iraq and the whole ISIS thing. And I think there's got to be some people that are still like pissed off that we kind of failed at like overthrowing Assad. And we didn't really, it actually brought Iran like deeper into the kind of Levant region and made them more militarily active and like increased their influence, which is weirdly also what happened during like the second Iraq war a little bit. Like it
It did,
actually
yeah.
gave Iran an
It
opportunity.
empowered Iran. It's true.
Yeah, which is odd. I mean, in some cases, when like the U.S. troops were occasionally fighting ISIS, or the
That might
SDF
have been like
was.
a genuine bumbling empire moment, like, or maybe it was just like a calculated risk, or like something that they were willing to accept in the like, in the short term, like we'll deal with them later, like, or that it wouldn't
Yeah,
empower
yeah.
them sufficiently. Yeah,
But
but
it was very much a
um,
proxy struggle with like Iran and Russia and like Syria on one side, and then like the Gulf powers, and then Europe and the
yeah,
United States on the other. And there was
yeah,
so much effort put into that, stoking and kind of like trying to essentially prevail in those conflicts, like to get some kind of like Western client, to like
yeah,
win in Syria or something like that. And then it didn't work, it just didn't work. I mean, Trump kind of like pulled the plug on it after a little while, and they kind of receded a little bit. But now it's like something similar is happening with like Lebanon and in Gaza and, the West Bank for all we
yeah.
know.
Well, ISIS was defeated, and then Trump stopped, I guess, or he declared ISIS defeated, even though ISIS K at least is still
Oh, of
around,
course. Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
they're
They were
ready. Yeah.
busy blowing up,
Also,
mosques and
yeah,
stuff in Iran the last few years,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
many suspected Israel, and it was very interesting. The timing was interesting.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that. I mean, I guess I am saying that they point them where they want them to go. You
Yeah,
know,
I think so. Those guys really get around, don't they? And
yeah,
then, I've just seen things over the years about like reports about like secret evacuations of like ISIS fighters out of some place in Syria, like before they get like overrun, and just like some like plane or helicopter comes and just like takes them somewhere, and like some American helicopter comes by, or private military contractors, etc. And then they just, pop up in a different continent, a different part of the world,
yeah. Well, I don't know if
destabilizing
they're the exact
somebody.
same people, but they're like
Well,
the
no, I
there's
mean, there
yeah,
are, at least a few of
there
them,
might be some crossover. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but like they get kind of moved around like little chess pieces, and I don't know, like it's dirty games that are going down right now, and it feels like the U.S. through its inaction, like there probably is something more than just like moral cowardice or like incompetence behind it, because it's so pronounced, and it might cost them the election to like message otherwise. So it's like, what's the big thing everybody doesn't want to talk about? Like, I think like why do they have to be so invested in it, even though it's like terrible for their brand? Imagine if Kamala could like run around just hypothetically and be like, Trump is going to support, I'm working to like stop the genocide in Gaza, and Trump like loves is Netanyahu, and he's going to let him do whatever he wants, but because he loves dictators, he's going to let a genocide happen. I mean, it would be maybe a different vibe. I don't know. Though of course
I
that would
mean,
never happen.
it would, yes, it would never ever happen. It would be,
If you tweak the
yeah.
normie Democrat messaging a little bit to include genocide in Gaza as bad, then like that you could kind of fold it easily, because then there would be a contrast at least a little bit between the two candidates about, Israel
Well,
and
yeah, no,
Gaza.
that's the thing. Like,
But there's
again, I'm
none
being
really.
like, like, again, I don't want anyone to think that like I would actually be satisfied with this. My point is that like it's amazing that like she won't do it, or won't even like, after
Right,
the
right.
support that like Muslims have given to the Democrats, after like the willingness to listen to Kamala, even, the fact that people even showed willingness to listen to her, despite what's going on, the fact that she wouldn't even do the little bit that
Yeah.
I think with some people, not with me, but with some people would go like a long way of being like, this is what Trump's gonna do that I'm not gonna let happen. But she has not said anything like that. Like, she could say like Trump is going to let this happen. Like, he's like, I'm not going to let that happen. Not I'm gonna,
She's never
like,
for
I'm gonna
all the
like,
things.
why can't we explore options for ending this war? Like, please, Netanyahu, let us end the war. Like, you're the president of the United States in this scenario, you know? And I hate how she won't say the word Palestine. Like, that's the biggest like tick that people have. Like, it reminds me of when Rami Youssef was on SNL and he was like, free the people of Palestine. And it's like, say Palestine.
Yeah, you don't
Like,
want to legitimize it as a place. It's just like a people
it's that
without a
meme of like
land.
the three fingers thing, like, you know, like, or order, you know, when you use the your index finger instead of like your thumb or whatever. I forget, or yeah, how, whatever it is. But or yeah, your ring finger instead of your thumb, you know, like order. And that's like the from the Inglourious. I never actually saw that movie, but because
no idea.
you haven't seen that? It's like the meme of like hotel, you know, whatever. I guess maybe some people know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, it's like the biggest tell. It's like you're not allowed to say free Palestine. You have to say the Palestinian people. And like even like when Kamala was like, I want a two-state solution, she can't say like, you know, where Israel and Palestine exist. It's like
Like a
Israel
free
and the
democratic Palestine.
Like if the people of Palestine have self-determination, then won't there be a
No.
state called Palestine? Which again, like if she actually like said like that, you know, like in a really defined, like clear way, instead of being like moving towards this vague goal where like there's quote unquote self-determination, which is exactly what they fucking said in the Balfour Declaration.
Right.
Like then
Their religious
you know,
rights
it would be
a
difference. Like that would be, I think, to some people significant. Like I'm not saying that like these minor concessions would actually like
you wouldn't be fooled
morally
by it,
launder a genocide.
but
However, I think that like it is shocking that they won't go, like it's especially egregious and especially insulting that they won't even like close that distance, you know what I mean? There's still a lot of daylight between like an actually ethical policy or actually turning your back on the beautiful, the only democracy in the entire world that is part and parcel of our democracy, which Donald Trump is dangerous to, and like, you know, having a slight ethical performance. It would be, yeah.
No, I think the fact that they're willing to risk losing signifies that like from their POV or whatever they're being told, that this is of like paramount importance and like it cannot be negotiated on or sought. You have to hold the line 100%, which means that like they're cooking up something nasty if that's going to be their approach to this entire conflict. Like they have nothing good planned. If they're like, let's just get through this fucking election and try to like lie about it and then go back to like doing whatever the fuck we've been doing since October 7th, which is like probably secretly helping them and also like sticking up for them in the UN, et cetera, et cetera. Let them do their mad dog thing. You know?
I don't want to like discredit, like, you know, I think that like you actually like, you know, there's some like I said before, I think there could be something to that. I'm not sure, but like it is interesting. Like, you know, I definitely like follow like news about like Iran, like especially like with relationship to like the United States, and like there are a couple of like flags that I've noticed that like maybe could like support that narrative, like what I mentioned before, and also like the whole thing around, what was his name? I remember like recently reading about Tabatabai, Aryan Tabatabai, I think maybe her name is. But yeah, she was like I wish it were true. I wish she were like a, you know, a subversive Iranian spy within the Biden government. But I think it's actually the opposite. Yeah, but her yeah, like her boss, I forget what his name was.
This is the leaking situation that happened, right?
Like allegedly,
and she was falsely accused by somebody of being the leaker because she is Iranian, but she's not. The Pentagon said she was not.
Yeah, Robert Malley.
Okay.
You know, and they say there's some kind of like influence, leaked Iran government emails that like kind of suggest that like there's suspicion in Iranian influence. Like some people read it that way. I think it was actually probably the opposite.
Oh, is this separate from the leaked plans from the Pentagon about Israel's like attack plans against Iran? Because that came out last week. That was quote unquote leaked.
No, yeah, it is separate. It is separate.
Oh, okay.
Like that was something that like, and it was kind of like a little weird scandal around that. But my point is that like I also like, and again, this is not like as maybe as appealing an explanation because it's a bit more simplistic or like a bit more base level. But I also do think that like the people who like are making these decisions, like, you know, like her campaign minders and like the sort of people coming up with like what her messaging is, I don't think that they see Muslims or, you know, and Arabs in general as being human beings in the same way, like, they don't like really like see their human, especially I think it has something, there is like this deep-seated like hatred of Muslims that like goes back, especially like I think that like it really in certain like subcultures in the United States, like in like Beltway types, I think it can really percolate there. People who like want to imagine that they get it, on foreign, like I think that those ideas really do like simmer a lot there. Like, whether, I think that like whether it's about Arabs or it's about, Muslims more broadly, obviously, again, we had this kind of thing where recently, like the polling came out where it showed like Arab Americans kind of defecting from Kamala, and everyone was like, oh, those Muslims, but it's like most Arabs in the United States are Christian. So like, but I think that type of thing, like that type of thinking, like it does like proliferate, and I think that they don't see Muslims as like mattering. They see them as Muslims as being expendable, like their lives are expendable, and also like their opinions couldn't matter in this election. So I feel like it works on two levels, I feel like they see that we like we're not gonna affect this election. Like what Muslims do isn't gonna matter. Like if we hate you, it doesn't matter. And also like if Palestinians die, it doesn't matter. And those two things operate on two levels. And I think that really that like I could easily see that being a factor where they don't. What my point is that they might not see themselves as being willing to throw this election. They might actually still be trying to win, or they might think that this is the best thing to do because they think that they can't affect this, whereas like if we piss off AIPAC or we piss off Israel, which again, like, there might be some truth to that. It's true. Like I do think that like our influence could be stronger, but I do wish that Muslims had our own AIPAC that is the same level of influence over politicians than politicians were as afraid of, but at the same time I do think that like there might be an outsized, because of that kind of idea that's so entrenched, there might be this kind of outsized importance attached to what AIPAC thinks, or what, or generally what non-Muslims think, or what, Zionists think, or what, the Jewish vote thinks, or whatever, not to say that it's monolithic or anything versus what, what Muslims think. I think that might actually be a thing.
It is interesting that I think a lot of people that have kind of probably been promoted up into positions of power in like the national security state now are probably, I'd be willing to guess, people that had experience in the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, right? And even though, I think on one level, maybe you would assume that, serving overseas in, these countries over the last 2 decades, that you'd have a bunch of people with like reserves of knowledge and experience with these cultures. And that might be true for some people. But then there's also like the dark flip side of that, which is a very skewed like understanding of these cultures based on like the military culture in which you encountered and like interacted and in some cases fought against them, right? So this idea of kind of like looking at Muslims or Arabs through like a counterinsurgency lens, or like how do we manipulate these tribes like in Iraq to like work together and blah blah. What if we bribe them? It's also you hear it a million times from like I feel like veterans over the last maybe 10 20 years about like it's so fucking corrupt over there, like everyone's so fucking corrupt, like it's and I'm not saying that like every single person has explicitly sort of like genocidal feelings about those people, but when you're in a war environment, like that does lead, it definitely accelerates the sort of dehumanization factor and looking at like Muslims or Arabs as potential threat targets, and things and targets, things like that, that need to be like analyzed and studied because eventually, they might be a combatant that you need to neutralize and that kind of thing. And so even though, maybe a lot of the people in the deep state, like maybe they're young enough now, they weren't around during the Iranian Revolution, which I think did inspire a couple generations of like people in the NatSec state, the deep state, if you will, like having a real hatred towards Iran, right? Though at the same time, we know Iran-Contra, there have been times when they've like given them weapons, and that's the other thing is like that's interesting about this. I mean, I think you probably are right. I would say it's probably like a large consequence of like the long war on terror on our government institutions and the people that work in them that would probably, I feel like, add extra fuel to a kind of ambient genocidal feeling towards like Arabs and Muslims.
Like, okay, this maybe illuminate what I'm getting at. Like I was remembering as we were talking about this, like this APAC conference in Washington D.C. in 2018 that Kamala attended, and she was asked, by the APAC moderator, where does your support from Israel come from? And this is what she said. It's always been a part of my life. I grew up, we, and maybe many of you, I don't know if anyone is still doing this with the vigor with which we would do it, but we would have our little boxes where we were raising money to plant trees for Israel. Laughs. And we would go around with our box, and I never actually sold Girl Scout cookies, but I raised money to plant trees in Israel. So it's always been there. I've been to Israel 3 times, most recently in November of last year. I promised friends and myself that I would go before the end of my first year as United States Senator, and it is just something that has always been a part of me. I don't know when it started. It's almost like saying when you first realize you love your family or love your country. It just was always there. It was always there. But I will also say something that connects to the earlier point that you made. So this weekend, in fact, late last night, I got back from Selma, from Alabama, and I was there with a bipartisan delegation of members of Congress to commemorate, not really celebrate, but commemorate the crossing of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, which occurred 53 years ago and was highlighted because it was a notoriously awful day in what was called Bloody Sunday, which is when a group of people that were black and white and brown and every color under the rainbow, a group of people that were ministers and rabbis, people of all ages from all areas of the country, 25,000 in number, by the third day that they tried to take that walk across that bridge, who marched together hand in hand to fight for everyone's civil rights, and in particular the right of African Americans to vote at that time. And I would encourage us all to remember every aspect of our history as an indication again of who we are and what we must always recommit ourselves to be. Because the stories of what happened in those days for those marchers, and again, the incredible diaspora of who we are, it says in brackets, likely a transcription error when she says diaspora, but I don't know if it's a transcription error. That might just be a speech, a random Kamala, AI hallucination. But anyway, of who we are as a country is a story of going to that bridge. Mostly, the movement was by students. That movement was student-led. A young John Lewis who faced troopers who were on horses, and those horses were trampling these young people who were marching for justice. They faced mobs, Klan members, Ku Klux Klan members who were telling them they didn't belong, and they marched hand in hand. And I actually gave a speech over the weekend while I was there. And I said, the thing about the recognition of this bridge crossing is that the bridge crossing, they were crossing that bridge also while they were building bridges. And that gets back to our collective mission as leaders. We will cross bridges. We will fight. We will go arm in arm to make sure that we will always be a loud voice against bigotry and hatred and anti-Semitism. We will always march together proudly against all those forces that may seem more powerful sometimes. Look at Charlottesville and that awful moment when we had to see people marching with torches and swastikas, but we will always remember. We will be strong in the face of that kind of hatred. It is not new. It will revisit itself, but we will stand together proud, and in the process of standing up and fighting for equality and fairness and justice, we will also commit ourselves to building bridges. And that means building the coalition and building the connection between all of us to fight together. And that's on the issue of Israel. It's on the issue of so many challenges that we face as a world and the challenges we face as leaders. Building bridges, very important. So, okay. I mean, again, you can read some of that. Yeah, it's incredibly ironic, which is like, again, I was going to give the caveat that, all right, she's a politician, she might just be saying what she's got to say to this APAC audience. But also, I do think that is something that you would never hear her say. She is comparing, the civil rights movement to APAC, where you would think that, her empathies as, a black, woman of South Asian heritage.
I was going to say she was showing her Indian side at the beginning.
Yeah.
Indian reply guy kind of energy.
Yeah, I guess
in the beginning,
yeah. But
no, I know. I mean, yeah. I mean,
but that's to say it's always been with me, all my life. And I'm part of that's the thing. This identification. It's and you can read into that the fact that Kamala's probably seen a million presentations about Hamas, and they're evil, and she thinks of them as being Klan members. And I think this may actually on some level be true. She may not she may really think this. Again, I think it is and I don't want this to negate the idea that there's some kind of geostrategic motive that is underlining some of this as well, because I think certainly there is, and these things are definitely not mutually exclusive. And even if these
I'm saying
these
things
beliefs
tend to trickle
exist in that
down.
context. Exactly. Yeah, the two they can't be extricated. But yeah, that's the thing. This may actually, in fact, be what she believes. Like when she sees like like pro-Palestine protesters, when she sees like Arab American voters who are concerned about this, like and who like don't want to support her over it, she doesn't see like, herself. She sees like the scary Hamas from like the
Yeah, for
APAC
sure.
movie that she was shown 1,000 times,
That's very
And I
that
think
is
that
I
may
think
be
that
true.
is very true that she sees the Palestinians, the Arabs as others, even though like her kind of political identity is sort of built on being an other, but it's this weird post-Obama thing where it's like, oh, if you kill enough people, then you can convince yourself that you're like I don't know, it's like you become white in a way, and
Which is
like
basically the ethos of the Israeli like national project, so it kind of makes sense in a
right.
way. But
Yeah. No, I mean I
yeah.
get when like I'm sorry, I know it's like it's obviously not everybody, but like they keep doing these barbershop interviews where, and like Fox and MSNBC will both do it. And like when they interview like African American people, they're like, is Kamala black? And they're like, no. And like
Right,
I
yeah.
feel like technically she definitely is. Like, you
Yeah,
know what
she's
I mean? Like she
black,
definitely
yes.
is, but like maybe they're saying something a little bit deeper than just your like literal ethnic heritage of like, is she connected with that culture? Does she see
Well, I
herself
think also that
as
like
like the
people just hear that she's not, and then they're like,
right,
"Oh, I heard
right.
she wasn't." I think that's probably the main factor.
Yeah, which is weird.
But it
Like,
is
well, I mean, she never
like,
talks about her Jamaican father like ever, so I guess like that would probably help if it did.
well,
But
yeah. I mean,
I
I
think
don't. Yeah.
she sees herself
Um,
on the side of like Israel. I think she sees herself
Exactly. Yeah. She doesn't
as
see
part of
herself like she doesn't
uh,
see herself as like, yeah, like I guess her father was like a Marxist professor, right?
an
So yeah, I
economics
guess she
professor at
like
Stanford. Yeah,
yeah, I guess his worldview, what I assume would be his views on the issue, I guess have not made an impact on her.
just like
So
Buttigieg, like his like parents are like
yeah.
Gramsci scholars or whatever, and like they just become these little
I
McKinsey
guess it's the
robots.
perfect like background for a Democratic politician because it's like someone who's like rebelling against the authority of their parents who were
Yeah,
like
who are
communists.
leftists.
So like that's yeah,
It kind
exactly.
of
Like,
is. It's like their little
that's the
Alex
only
P.
way you can be like a
Keaton.
fervent like believer in like like the Democratic
I
Party
mean,
is
they
like
are
if
Gen Xer that like they're like Gen X like children of like the 80s and 90s when like the left was dead, man. Like stop having a cow. Like it's just all about, neoliberal progress now and like vibes. Like, they were really shaped by that era where the left was like dead. Like it wasn't cool to be like I'm a radical leftist. Like that sort of, surged up again later.
yeah.
But even still, I feel like Kamala Harris as a like woman of color, like Democrat living in the San Francisco Bay Area in the decades that she did, like she cannot be unaware with like the sort of pro-Palestine side of the argument. You know what I mean? Like she lived in a very liberal, relatively, part of the country where like I certainly saw that shit, like I saw expressions of that like growing up in like the 2000s or whatever in the Bay Area. Like it was more it was not like I wouldn't consider the San Francisco Bay Area like back then like a hotbed of like Zionism compared to other parts of probably much less so than like New York, honestly. So like I do feel like she has no excuse. At the same time, and she spent most of her political career in California that is not exact like I can see you getting really like the full court like APAC brainwash if you're like a congressperson for like years and years or you're a senator or you're working in DC and because obviously they spend a lot of attention there but I guess maybe it also shows how deep the thing goes, right? Remember like I think back in our second episode about Kamala Harris, way back in 2020 we talked about her great lifelong friend Gavin Newsom and how Gavin Newsom's father, who was like the consigliere of the Getty family, how he had that cool little business up in Sacramento with SS Hauptsturmführer Otto von
Yeah.
Bolschwing, and they were involved in all kinds of like weird like technology startups. But I remember that episode that I think one of the things they were involved in was selling like top secret radar or satellite imagery, I think, to Israel during the either the 6 Days War or the Yom Kippur War. And I forget which one it was. But they were, so think about it like Gavin Newsom's dad and this escaped Nazi war criminal and one of the Gettys are getting involved in like selling Israel cutting edge technology so it can like beat the Arabs like in the back in the 60s and 70s. And then one of those sons goes on to be like, the big dog of California politics. And then his best friend, Willie Brown's mistress, initially, goes all the way to where she is now. And so, I mean, that's an example of like even back, way back then, getting into bed with literal Nazis, getting into bed with the state of Israel, was something I think that was seen as pretty normal for people to do.
Yeah.
And it's so these politicians today, they've never known a world in America where like Israel wasn't like kind of 1,000% supported. And then the whole 9/11 thing kind of threw a wrench in that because then, grafted on all these discourses about how they hate our freedoms. You can't be gay in Gaza. They're religious, like,
they'll throw you off a roof.
They'll throw you off a roof. And then mixed with just heapings of more Israeli propaganda just like mainlined into our culture at various levels about how like Israel, like they're just like you, they're awesome, they go to psytrance raves, they love ecstasy,
and like if only we had listened to them, like this horrible, like they were right all along, and like
they
how
understand
like
tough
if
on
you
terror.
ever had a flicker of doubt about what Israel has been telling you, like you should be ashamed of yourself, like because like and it's like if you just didn't believe in what
and without sounding like one of those guys, like definitely saturated the highest, like the commanding heights of the US media class with fervent supporters of like the Zionist project. I mean, even look at right now, like the big Trump thing, the big October surprise drop in the Atlantic, owned by Steve Jobs' widow, who was like BFFs with Ghislaine Maxwell, is Jeffrey Goldberg. Wasn't he like an IDF like prison guard or something like that?
Jeffrey Goldberg is, I mean, I don't know what his role was in the IDF, but he's extremely hardcore like Zionist.
Right.
He's like one of the most like aggressive like media side. Like I particularly, there's only so many like people kind of like they all blur together at a certain point. There's only a couple. And a lot of them write for the Atlantic, honestly, who like I actually like recognize by name as like I specifically hate that person, and Jeffrey Goldberg is absolutely one of them. Yeah.
I mean, like what was her name? Like Jennifer Rubin, I think is like Washington Post. She's another like frothing Zionist, and Bari Weiss, who's now like even on the alternative side. Like just like God, just absolute like her whole like project is like rizzing up Zionism, like in defending Zionism, like. All these kind of like magazines that are straight up like dedicated to it and everything, like they've really invested.
Interesting that she like was chosen by like she was like elevated by the New York Times because they thought like she would help like explain Trump, or like that she would she was because she was like a conservative writer,
classic
so, like,
JD Vance kind of thing. Like this
exactly.
young person thinks like they're conservative, but they're not crazy. Like, and then they turn out to be like a weird Peter Thiel like fucking vampire. So I mean now like that part worries me that like I think that's been a big thing in our Weimar dissident kind of world or in the subcultures I think in the last year that is kind of clarified where various edgelords stand as like the Palestine issue, because I think you've seen a lot of these kind of like based like dissident right like people that just totally fell in line and became a bunch of like boomer Zionists like once October 7th happened, and even people who are like flirting with Nazi like aesthetics constantly are just curiously also like love Israel. And so I think you can say that people like Peter Thiel,
I mean, I'm reading this Jeffrey Goldberg article now. I mean, I bet a bunch of people like didn't even click on this because I didn't even realize like the real meat of the story, which is insane. Like, the actual like conversation that like Trump had where he says like, I don't understand why. Yeah. Like the guy who slit the throat of a wounded prisoner, and Trump was like, he's a hero. I mean, that's insane and awful and evil. And I, again, must reiterate that, like, I despise Donald Trump, like, so deeply. And, like, he's repugnant to me as a human being. But, like, the title of this being, like, I wish I had generals like Hitler had. The way that Kamala, like, delivered that, like, talking point was, like, so underwhelming. Like, I can't believe she, like, fumbled that, too. But, yeah, is this what we were talking about in terms of, like, the October surprise, or was there something else?
Yeah. That was being the kind of desperately touted by liberal media and by Kamala as, like, he said he wanted generals like Hitler. So they tried to kind of run with that. I don't think it's really gonna work. I mean, it's tough. He says a lot of crazy shit, you know? And these generals, like, they've been kind of they're really leading with like the generals are leaking they're spilling the tea about all the insane shit, you know, that he said over the years. But I don't think like people that are leaning towards Trump are gonna kind of care about that. It just sounds like a little bit, I don't know. It's like random. Okay, he just told you like hate each other now, but like he told you the most incriminating thing of all time. I don't know. Like, but he also could have. I don't know. It's hard. Like you said,
I mean, I
he's
feel like
getting older.
Kamala
Hard
should
to
have
tell.
said like
What did she
he
say exactly?
she said like he said that like again I maybe I didn't hear, maybe she did mention it, but I feel like instead of saying like he said he wished he had generals like Hitler, which is like, all right, yeah, bad, but we all know that like Trump admires dictators or whatever. But I think that it's like more substantive, and like again it's just an example of like how bad she is at this, like that she didn't say like, well, he also like made moves like quit someone who like shot. That's another thing where it's like,
Well, no, see, that's the
you know,
Democrats' like contradiction, their dilemma.
yeah, exactly.
They can't denigrate the brave, epic, like inclusive, pro-democracy, pro-human values military. They can't do it. Like they're fully in lockstep with like basically just like, oh, we love the Pentagon at this point because they've decided they made the calculation that shaming Trump for not being like a real imperialist like patriot or whatever the fuck like that, you know, he disrespect, it's so West Wing
I mean, it's
brain.
deranged because
Yeah.
that would be the thing. That would almost even tie in their favorite talking point to the issue of Gaza. Because that's the thing where it's like Trump doesn't understand, like, again, of course, like Israel doesn't understand this either. And it would still kind of be like again, just to reiterate, I'm just saying like it's shocking they don't do this, and like this would be a way to distinguish and like at least make a show of it, like give a chance to convince people like that you actually do care about this, like by saying like Trump doesn't care about like, you know, the rules of war or like military ethics and like, you know, human dignity, like even in a combat situation, like he moved to like acquit and pardon someone who shot three unarmed Afghans. Like he, you know, like that's the person that you want to be in charge in order to navigate this
We're
conflict in
almost
Gaza. Say
we're almost
that.
we're almost worse off than we were in like 2004 when I feel like maybe even like John Kerry would have said some shit like that about
Oh
like
yeah.
something happening in Iraq. Nowadays, no, it literally it would not compute and people would be so mad if she did that. Of like you were insulting the fucking troops. What the fuck? Like Kamala, that's not okay. Like, but you know, people or they
But
just
it's one
would
of those
like
things where I do
it would
not think that like
it would not be
what
allowed,
they've
I don't
taken
think.
all the wrong lessons from like Trump's success because they think like they have such like wonk brains or something. They think
Yeah.
that like people love Trump's policies and ideas, which is not true. They respond to his charisma and his confidence.
And his vibes.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever, you know, that's what I
You know,
mean.
he
Like
acts like
he
he
actually,
acts
yeah,
with like
exactly.
a purpose, you know, and
Exactly.
so
Like he, you know, says what exactly. He seems like a leader, like like
it's
a
a
Hitlerian
cliche,
leader
but like
perhaps, but still
it
like
is
a
true.
Führer of sorts, you
I
know.
mean,
And like Kamala does not act. She has like a follower. She has like someone who has a script, and like she's scared to like trembling with fear to even like go off of it a little bit.
like
You
she's
know,
been giving an acting job, which she
she
has in a way.
yeah, and it's insane. Like that's the thing. Like, yeah, like why? But my point is, they took all these wrong. Like, they thought, oh, people want you to be like fascist in policy. Like, no, they want you to be I mean, that's the thing. Like, fascism embraces the irrational, you know. So that's the thing. Like, they don't want you to just copy what Trump says, and then say like, but we can all come together, and I'm gonna like a bunch of platitudes that everyone like no one likes. They want you to like stand up for like principles that are like beliefs, like ideas that you strongly hold, you know,
The
even though
people want
Trump's
Democrats to.
ideas
Yeah.
don't really cohere if you examine them, and a lot of them saying and like really bizarre, like I need the wall to be see-through or whatever. He really believes that the wall needs to be see-through, and he like fights for it, you know, like because he wants that to happen, and like he actually believes that that could be where Kamala, you don't get that from her at all about anything.
She is an actor, uh, playing the role of a lifetime. In contrast to Hillary Clinton, who was a killer. Even though Biden kind of an actor, kind of senile at that point, but he didn't really have to campaign. He could just be kind of an idea and a name, an abstraction a little bit. But I don't think it's going to go very well for the
Biden had kind of a
but
brand to him, Yeah, like
he is Scranton Joe,
people responded to the
Scranton
Biden brand.
Joe.
It was his legacy was completely tarnished and destroyed on various levels.
Yes,
However,
yes.
like
But he
people
was
did
an
like him at
Irish
first.
backslapping guy who wasn't
Yeah.
racist, and that was enough.
Yeah.
People love that shit. But yeah. No, I think that this topsy-turvy year is gonna end where we probably thought it was gonna end, like at the beginning of the year. They've just taken us on a ride, but like nothing different is being offered either from Biden or in many levels like from what Trump like is offering to do, especially on Middle Eastern foreign policy shit. And I feel like it's gonna be bad either way, perhaps in different
I don't
ways.
even believe them about like the things that they say that they'll like. Yeah, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it sucks.
Definitely a
We'll
low
see what
point
happens.
for our pseudo
Um,
democracy. Definitely a low point, but yeah, I
like
mean, yeah, there's
that's
also
the
the
thing.
matter
Like
of
I
like, will we
feel
get
like
through it
people were
peacefully?
like that. No, we won't. That's true. No
What if the
matter who wins,
Democrats
it's going to
don't
be a
concede?
shit show. That's
Yeah.
the whole
What
other
if the
element of
Democrats don't
this.
concede this time? What if they do January 6th? What
I
will
could
people
totally
care?
see that happening,
Will people
honestly.
care enough though? Like like in an angry pussy
It
hat
wouldn't
mob
be
kind
the
of way,
same type of January 6th as like
right?
the January 6th, but like I could see like some kind of thing, like
More
some kind of
lawfare
effort to
based.
like not. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Um,
Maybe like
yeah,
get
and then on the other
Merrick
hand,
Garland to
like
do
I
something.
could see a worse repeat of the original January 6th, like,
If he loses.
uh an order of magnitude worse if he loses.
Honestly, like I do have to say this, just like objectively, I feel like I've been sampling, some of the media on all sides this week, just like trying to see like what the vibes are. And I feel like if Trump loses by any amount again, like nobody's gonna believe it. Like they're not gonna believe it. They're not gonna believe it. And I don't think he's gonna accept it either. But that's a function of like I
I
think they're
mean,
really
that
confident now that he's gonna like win by a landslide, like a Reagan Mondale
yeah,
landslide or something. Which honestly,
yeah.
I don't think that hard, but like he might sweep all the swing states, like not by much, but like he might do that
Oh yeah, he
a
might.
little
He
bigger than
might. That I
2016.
could see that happening. I could see him winning Michigan. I could see him winning
Yeah,
Pennsylvania. I don't know about Wisconsin, but maybe.
maybe Wisconsin. It'll be tight, but maybe New Hampshire. I think Pennsylvania. I think he'll probably. Yeah, North Carolina, I think he's going to win. I think in Nevada, Arizona, he's going to win. I think he's going to win like
Interesting.
at least four of them. Like, yeah, definitely the western states and the border states. North Carolina with the hurricane and everything, and he's already up a bunch of points. Like if you look at it, Trump, he's usually under polls, right? And so, like in 2016, like Hillary was up by like a couple points, but he won a lot of those states. And then in 2020, Biden was up by like 7 or 8, and then he like barely won
Yeah,
in a
by a
bunch of
ton,
states.
and it was
Kamala
closer.
is
Yeah,
either
yeah,
tied
exactly.
or down by like one or two. Like
Yeah.
at most, she's up by like one in some of the battleground states, which like if if the trends hold of like how, these polls underrepresent him and he has the momentum going in the end of it, you could just see him boom, 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 boom. I don't like, will he win like Minnesota? He wants to apparently to like humiliate Tim Walz, but that's probably a long shot. But I could see him,
Um,
yeah, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona, or he could win five of them, but he's not gonna get shut out like he did last time. I can't see it because people thought he was gonna win like six of those states, and then the next day they like updated the numbers, and it's like, oh, yeah, actually no, like, and then he went over six. Like I don't think that is going to happen, and he only needs like three of the bigger ones, I think, to like win. It's just should have come out
it's
against the
definitely
genocide, Democrats. Should have come out
yeah,
against the
they definitely
genocide.
should have.
Should have
That would
not
have
supported a
been,
gen. I'm happy
and
with
I
that
think
being
that's
the
the thing. Like
narrative of like,
people would
fuck
have.
you.
It's a
Like,
holistic thing. It's not. They see it's like, oh, it's just one issue, but that's not how people work.
mhm.
That's the thing.
People
Like
care about shit
people who like
and
didn't
they
live
rank
anywhere
it.
near the border, like or and have like have never like, seen or like experienced any kind of like problem with immigration or whatever in their lives, were still like, again, like Republicans, people who are like, not appalled by this note, like still responded well to the idea of the wall because it was like made like people would respond to it well because they would see that you were like actually taking a stand and differentiating yourself from Biden. Like people would like that, but whatever.
No, I think
Again, I'm sure that they have gamed it out, but they just come off as cowards and fools and evil.
they're moral, spiritual cowards. They're like the pallbearers of like the last
I guess you kind of
neoliberal
have
generation.
to be. I guess you have to be cowards to like stand by and like let a genocide happen. I guess you have to be like a total moral coward. So, you can also be brave and commit a genocide, or at least not a total coward. But I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you kind of to commit this genocide. I guess the act of genocide is always cowardly in and of itself. But
It is.
you can be you can be not as spineless as the Democrats in other areas of your life.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And it just doesn't help when like all that's going on and then the economy, sorry, it sucks right now. It's not good. Things are too damn expensive. Like we're going through a generational shift of like decline economically, clearly, I think. Like I don't know if it's you could say it's like just like a secular decline that, is going to play out over years and years, but I feel like there's things you could do to not like rip apart like the real economy and just like commiserate everybody that like the Democrats are just like not fucking interested in doing. Like how about like prohibiting banks from like buying houses and like you know what I mean? And like keeping them vacant as like investment vehicles or whatever the fuck. Like I know people that's like happened to of like they've been like outbid for houses by like a BlackRock shell company. You know what I mean? Like how about
yeah.
doing that shit? Like or something like that. Like getting people's wages up. They don't seem to give a fuck about any of that stuff because they're so like
All they
upper
say is
middle
like,
class
I'm
to
not Donald
bourgeois.
Trump. I'm not Donald
Yeah.
Trump. It's like, well, that's obviously
Everything's
not
a fucking New Yorker
convincing.
article to them. Like they live in this fucking bubble where America should be like the West Wing. And like I know that's why they don't hate Trump because of anybody he killed or any bad thing or how fascist he is. It's because he makes America look like it actually kind of actually is. He's like the ultimate
True, yeah.
boomer. He is the terminal boomer. He is the ultimate like
He is the ultimate
golden
boomer. Yeah.
calf, like spray tan golden calf icon that like the late 20th century America like produced and exalted and like put on a pedestal. All these liberals fucking loved him for decades and rizzed him the fuck up to be like a all-star reality host and saved him from bankruptcy and blah 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 and it was all funny. And then, it's like the drunk old grandpa at the country club decided like he wanted to
Do you
run things.
remember? I
And
always
it's oh
remember.
so gauche. They can't
I always
handle
remember.
it.
I wonder, like, I almost feel like this is one of those things that like people should always like be like remember, but maybe this is something that actually like it's just like stands out particularly in my mind. Do you remember Donald like when Donald Trump first like indicated that he might run in 2016? Jon Stewart was like begged him on the Daily Show like, please run. Do you
Yep.
remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do. And now he's back, but like who gives a
for the
fuck? And
material because he's hilarious and funny.
honestly, Jon Stewart's epic political humor and its consequences have been like a disaster for like the American left
Yeah.
and like even the Democratic Party. Like
No, I mean I was gonna say
they're all
like that's the
full
thing.
Jon
Like
Stewarting right now, and it's like so cringe. It's like, actually, sir, that's a fact checkerino. You actually like said this about a Republican. It means you're a hypocrite. And it's like, you've been doing that for a decade. Like he doesn't care. Like he is a hypocrite. Like he's proud. Like he doesn't give a fuck if he like contradicts himself. But they're just like these little like school marm like comedian people that like it's so fucking. But like Jon Stewart pioneered that. I saw Colbert the other night doing like a Trump impression. I'm like, I forgot you existed. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. Like all those people
Um,
just became these weird little like court jesters for the empire and like
I
have
was
their
gonna say
entire lives are
before, like
consumed.
one of those an idea that's kind of like that was like the whole idea of January 6th being like the funniest heckin' day in American history. And it's like, no, like it wasn't like the like again, it wasn't something where like people were kind of like, having this massive like meltdown and crisis. Like maybe there was like a little bit of like the sort of reactions to it maybe were overwrought in some sense, but it also wasn't funny. It wasn't like trivial, and like
people did die.
It is a significant thing. Yeah, exactly.
And
it was
like
shot,
a sus thing to happen. It was not like a great thing to happen for like your
yeah, exactly.
country.
Like, and it wasn't just like not meaningless and nothing. Like
yeah,
it was like
you,
it wasn't a coup, obviously, but it was a push. You could
on
call
the
it
other,
a push.
On the other hand, you could make a lot of money insisting it was funny. So there's that.
Well, I don't know how
there's
much
more money in
like,
that.
well, I guess maybe, yeah,
but no, it is true. Like I always thought that as the immediate reaction.
Heckin', the most hilarious day in American history. Like, but
well,
yeah.
There's something implicit in that about like we're dunking on both the magatards and the shit libs
because they're so it's like it's still kind of fucked. Like it's still kind of fucked up thing that happened. Like it's still kind of alarming. Like again, you don't have to like, doesn't make you a lib to like recognize that. You don't have to like go into these kind of histrionics like, some people maybe did over it, but like the
the histrionics were
or
cringe.
whatever.
Like
of our capital,
like,
it's not about that. It's like about like it's just about the fact that like what does this bode for the future? You know what I mean? But
right. And
it's
even
not
in
about
a way
like
where
the sanctity of our capital or anything like that, or like about like symbolism. That's not like what matters, or like about like the hemming and hawing and like AOC was going to be killed or something. Like that wasn't what was going to happen. But again, like, it's about like, yeah, it's like a bad sign. A bad sign, about the state of America,
And this is our first election,
and not really
after
like
that.
humorous necessarily at all.
No,
like I don't really
despite
like
the shit-coded QAnon
people can find humor in anything, but I don't think that necessarily like is inherently funny.
No.
They're or certainly not the funniest day in American history.
And it probably won't be funny if people like die over like arguing about the results of this election. So in some sense, maybe it's just better if it's a landslide either way, right? Just make it definitive, and then there won't be as much to fight about. Otherwise, then I feel like either side, if it's like very close, is going to be.
I guess I see what you're
go.
saying, but I mean, it doesn't. I don't see any way that it's not going to be pretty close. I don't think it's going to be a Trump landslide.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a balance between like how many states are like really close in play that could be subject to recounts, and then like how many would one have to flip to like change the outcome and blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't think God, electoral college tie. Are we ready for that? Jesus.
And on the other hand, like maybe they'll just do the Hillary thing and just let it happen. I don't know. Yeah. Oh,
they might just let it happen.
It could be a 2000 repeat again. That would be really crazy. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to whistle past the graveyard, but this motherfucker, if he does win, he's going to be old as fuck in 4 years. And I feel like, even if he tries to stay around, well, he can't. Constitution says you can't, unless he, I guess, cancels it. But then, finally, like 13 whatever years after it started, we will be able to move beyond an era that is dominated by Donald Trump and focus our attention elsewhere. I don't think that'll be necessarily. I think times will still be.
No, I don't think that that's true, Dimitri. I'm sorry.
What, you think he's going to try to run again? I mean,
no, I just don't think that we'll be able to look beyond. Well, I guess it won't be defined by Donald Trump, but I just think that like.
He will be too old at some point.
Well, no, I'm not saying that he's gonna like declare himself Caesar, and like, but I'm saying that like
his adopted little Roman
we're never
son,
coming
JD.
back from this, no matter who wins this election.
No, you're right. Right, JD is the little poison pill in the wings.
It's all downhill from here, and like whoever, like we're gonna. It's the same thing when people think that like look back fondly on Bush, we're gonna be missing Donald Trump.
Yeah, whatever's probably going to come after him, it's going to be bad. So. I mean, both parties, I think, are almost like functionally fascist, and they're both looking to get more fascist in like their own way. Like, I think both parties are kind of licking their chops to be like, let's get rid of this so we just don't have to fucking deal with this fucking people anymore, kind of thing. And like both going towards different types of militarization. Maybe there's a intra-class disagreement on whether we should target China the most or Iran or Russia. And that's sort of being settled right now. But there's going to be, confrontation. There's going to be conflict and bad moons rising, I think, like regardless of who wins. I don't think we're going to save I don't think anybody's going to save the soul of America through voting this November. The soul will not be saved through that. but we'll have to find out some other way. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll leave it there,
Yeah.
right? It's about that time.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just say, everyone, come to our show on November 2nd.
Come to the show
at Night Horse, 66 Greenpoint Avenue. Is that right?
66 Greenpoint Avenue. That synchronicity,
Yeah,
I don't
there you
know,
go.
whatever. Yeah, tickets on ra.co.
Yeah,
Resident
we were gonna,
Advisor.
like I said, we were gonna do kind of a spooky episode, but we didn't. We talked too much as usual, so we didn't really get to do it. But that's fine.
Politically spooky
it was
events
spooky
are-
enough.
it's
Yeah, it
pretty
was spooky.
spooky.
Enough.
There's
It's actually more
spooky
chilling than
vibes.
anything else we could have possibly talked about.
It actually was.
all right,
I'm disturbed.
well-
So yeah, call it. I'm gonna see you a week from now, and we're gonna see so many New York listeners at the show, hopefully. And for all the rest of you, until next time, stay vigilant.
Peace.